Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Again, for the second time, what we had last lecture was agency. Today is the second lecture of agency, in which we have to look at the authority of the agent and how much power the agent can have to be able to act. Last time we had the conception, the definition, the principle, the agent, and we had the meaning of the agency, which is a tripartite set of relationship. As you can see here, this type of relationship, we find the principal is somebody who can authorize the agent to act on his behalf, and the agent is a person who is acting on behalf of the principal to make transactions with third parties. And we have to look at liability. Who will be liable? The final legal responsibility, it's on the principal, because the principal has the money, the power, the strength, the wealth, and he's the owner of the business. He or she would have that power and authority can be transferred from him to the agent. This authority, as you can see here, is something of a power which can be moved from one person to another. In a normal situation, somebody can act in his name as a merchant, as a business person, can act, you can sell, you can buy. But sometimes, in some cases, in agency, that this person, the principal, who is not able to act, the principal has got no time, the principal can be a fictitious person, the principal would need someone else to act on his behalf, who is called the agent. By doing this, the principal would have his own power, his own authority can be given to the agent to act, to make some transactions and deals with the customers. The question we did ask last time, and we're going to ask again today, is how much power, how much authority the agent can have. We have three types. Say, like, I cannot authorize somebody to act on my behalf in everything in my life. You have different people acting in different ways, having power which can be sometimes as equal as of the power which is for the principal. But this is not in all cases. We had that. We have three types of agent: universal, general, and what? And a special agent. At the same time, the authority, how much authority does the agent have? We say that depends. And how this authority can be transferred: by words, by conduct, explicit, implicit. Like, if I would like to authorize someone to be my agent, I can authorize that person explicitly, clear, not disputed. I can say, well, that person is my agent, and that's it. It's clear. You can understand from my words. You can understand from my conduct. It can be explicit authorization. It can be explicit, clear, undisputed. Sometimes it can be implicit or implied authority. Implied by impression. I make the impression in the that someone is my agent, and I did not say that. I did not even make any conduct, a clear activity to prove that I gave that consent, that authority to someone else. But you can understand from my action, you can understand implicitly that that person is acting on my behalf. Now, first type we call the actual authority. Actual authority. This authority from the principal to the agent. Number one is actual. It's a factual. It's a reality. It's a clear. It's not disputed. We can see, we can notice, like saying to somebody, well, Arwa is my agent. In this case, you understand that she is my agent. It's not disputed. It's a clear by words. I can sign a contract, and you know the contract, as we're going to study next chapter, most likely contracts are made orally. You don't have to write it down. To write it down just as an evidence. But most contracts we make in our life are oral. Say, well, I would like to sell you my laptop. and you want to buy it. I give you the laptop and you give me the money and we have the intention. That's a contract. Not everything have to be written down, no. So that one, what we called it last time, that actual authority, it's clear. It can be by conduct sometimes, by conduct. It can be by activities, but we can understand there is someone who's working as an agent for someone else. In that case, liability, responsibility would be on the shoulders of the principal. Today we'll look at the second type of authority, which is called apparent or ostensible authority. Apparent authority. It looks like that if we have an authority, but in fact, it's not. It looks to me and it looks to you that we have an authority, we have a power, I can act, but in fact, there is no agency. In fact, there is no agency. Like, by this you can see here that the principal's words or conduct, you can understand from the words, from the conduct. These words, my conduct would lead a reasonable person, someone reasonable person, شخص معقول in the market, he is or she is in the third party's position to believe that I was an agent or that person was an agent. Someone in the society, someone in the market can look at the situation, can read the situation, can understand that we have an authority. But this authority does not come from the agency. It's not actual agency. It's not. It's not actual authority. But in fact, there is an authority. And this authority comes from a situation like here. Number one and number two. We have two situations. Look at number one. It's by appointment. By appointing somebody. Appointing the agent to a position. I would like to read it. Someone can read it for me. Go on.
Appointing the agent to a position which carries with it agency like power. Those who know of the appointment intend to assume apparent authority of occupying such a position.
Okay, good. If you look at here again, in this situation, in this case, we have apparent authority. It looks to the people that we have an authority, we have an agency, but in fact there is no agency. In this case here, we have a situation in which appointing an agent, in fact he's not an agent, and she's not an agent. Appointing somebody to a position which carries with it agency-like power. Look at this again, agency-like. Well, it looks like an agency, but it's not an agency. Somebody has a power. Like, I give you an example, simple example. Like we have Jawal company. It's a telecommunication company. When you go to buy a mobile phone, when you go to sign a contract to have a line for communication from Jawal company, monthly payments, you sign the contract with the lady behind the till, behind the counter. That lady or that man are not agents. They are not. They are working for Jawal company, members of a staff, employees. So in this situation here, those people who are working for Jawal company or for Bank of Palestine, they are members of a staff. They are not agents. But the thing is that those people having what? Agency like power. What does it mean to you? Do they have the power? Yes. They can act, they can sign contract, they can sell you something. They get the money from you. But they're not agents, they are employees. But they have the power and the authority like the power and authority of an agent. Do you get the point? Yeah? Anyone can explain it again to me? Anyone would like to explain it? Someone is not agent, but he or she is working as a member of a staff. That person can act on behalf of the principal, on behalf of the company. But he's not acting as an agent, he's acting as a staff member. In this situation, he or she would have an authority from that company. This authority is equal to the authority of an agent. Anyone would like to explain it to me again? Go on.
These people act as staff, as a member of the staff, and as employees in the company. They have an authority and act as the agent, but they don't have an actual agent.
Anyone here? Go on.
A member from the staff from a company, he acting on the behalf of the principal or the company, and he have the authority to do to sign contracts, to sell services, to do job for the principal, for his company. He can do the job the same as the agent does it.
Okay. So anyone in this situation, any customer would see this case, can assume that this person is acting on behalf of the company. Anyone, if you go to Jawal company to buy a mobile phone, you can assume that lady or that man sitting behind the desk, behind the computer, and dealing with you, that person is working for whom? For Jawal company. And he or she would have an authority. We can deal with customers, and you can assume that. Presuming that he is. You know what assume is? You know what assume? يفترض. If you have any word which find it difficult and you cannot understand it, please let me know. Even if it's recorded, that's fine. I'm going to translate it for you. Any word you find it difficult, I will translate it. How do you find it up to now? Is it okay? Straightforward? Easy? Good. Second type, which is that we have authority, apparent authority. It's an authority which is made by the principal to the agent by impression. It's not a clear. It's apparent. It looks like an authority, but it can be one time off. It's only once. It may be twice. It's only for a short time. And this cannot be straightforward. It's not direct authority. It's an authority which can be given to the agent by impression, by implying. What's your name? Anud? MashaAllah. What does it mean that? MashaAllah. Okay, good. Now, I forgot what I'm going to say. Anyway, that if I imply that Anud is my agent, even though I did not tell anyone, I did not expressly make it clear to you that she is my agent, but you can understand from my action, you can understand from my reaction, from my words, the way I was dealing with her, you can understand from that she is my agent. In this situation, she is. As long as you do understand this, and the law will protect you as customers, as third parties. We have to look after you as customers. It's not the principal, it's not the agent. First priority is customers. They would come first. As long as they are innocent, honest. In this situation, even though in fact there is no authority, no agency, in fact, but by implying ضمنا أو حيث لكم بالإيحاء, by any activity that you believe that she is my agent, then in this case you can deal with her, and then I will be responsible as a principal. I can be responsible in this case. I will have to compensate you. I will be liable for any loss. But in this situation, we have no agency. Between me and Anud, principal and agent, there is no actual agency. What can we do? Now, if one of you, as a third party or customer, have dealt with that agent, and this agent is not a real agent, is not an actual authority, we do not have an actual authority, then will I be liable here or not? Yes. Because I gave the impression, it's my mistake, it's my authority, I authorize it, and أعطيت الموافقة. Already I have given that, even if it's by implying it. But in this situation, we find it's a little bit difficult to explain this point. There is something called, in this case, in this situation, agency by stopil. stubble, even if you look at the dictionary, English dictionary, you will not gonna find it. Did you look at it? Agency by stubble. Stubble, it's kind of a de facto situation, de facto legal situation, in which that we have to assume there is an agency. يعني نفترض there is an agency, but there is no agency in fact. Here in this case, I did not authorize my agent to act clearly. But you, as a customer, you understood from me that he or she is my agent. Now these deals here, that deal which can be done between agent and a third party, it's between them. And the principal was not there. The principal have no idea, maybe. But the principal will be liable for this situation. The principal will be liable, legally responsible. He would have to pay. He would go to compensate. Why? Because we have something called agency by stubble. We assume as if there was an agency, but in fact, no, there was no agency. This is conditional on what? Conditional on one point here. Condition is that, if you look with me, that the principal cannot deny the grant of authority if third parties have changed their positions in reliance on the representation made. This third party have changed their positions depending on this situation, believing that there was an agency. This third party has paid the money and he got the goods. He was believing that there was an agency, but in fact there is no agency. And he changed his situation. He did not want to buy from that place. He bought from us. He paid the money. He made a transaction with our company, believing that everything was fine and legal and we have an agency. He switched from company A to company B, dealing with us. So he changed his position, depend on what he believes that we have an agency. In this case, we should look after this customer. We should not deny his rights. We should deliver. Now, somebody can ask me, a student will ask me, what do you mean by liability here? If the deal was done between the agent and the customer, the transaction was made already, how the principal can be liable? Like somebody was working for me as an agent and I was the principal, but this person is not working for me anymore. He's left. He went for a second company to work for them. My agent, my previous agent, is not working for me anymore. Now, one of the customers who was dealing with my agent came to me after 2 weeks saying that this laptop or this item he bought from my agent is not working. And that customer has a guarantee. Then I cannot deny this transaction. I cannot say to him that you have to go to the agent because that agent was working for me. I would have the full liability. I would have to compensate the customer. Do you get this point? Good? Good. Alhamdulillah. Now this slide 13, we have definition of agency by stubble. This, by the way, will not be included in the exam. This is slide only. This definition will not be included. I want somebody to read it for me. There's someone to read it. Loud, you go on. Binding, mulzim.
Binding agency relationship that may arise when, in fact, no formal agency agreement is in effect. A principal may give...
Look, in fact, no formal agency. In fact, there is no agency. In fact, go on.
A principal may give an appearance of agency relationship. In such cases, the existence of an agency may be shown as
Presumed. افترض.
The principal may be bound by the acts of the agent. The principal
So this, what I was explaining just to you a few minutes ago, this is the meaning of agency by Strobel. I mean, this slide, only this slide will not be included in the exam because we did explain it in the slide number 12, number 11. We go for the third type. It's authority by virtue of position held. An agent can have an authority by virtue of a position held. This authority can come from the position he or she would have. And the purpose of this, the main objective of this is we would like to deter any fraud and other harms to individuals dealing with the agent. We have to guarantee that customers will be protected. An agent is an agent, and he's working for the principal, and the agent would deliver, and the agent would be liable for the customer. So we have to protect the customers. We have two cases like this, two situations. Number one and number two here. Number one, partners. And this slide, and this point, we'll look at it again next Tuesday. We have to look at it. We'll look at something called agency and partnership. I'm going to explain it now briefly. What does it mean? Agency and partnership. If we have partnership, you know what does it mean, partnership? شركة عادية. We have three partners. 1, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C, D. 4 partners working for the same partnership. All of them united together in this body, which is called, what is this body called? Partnership. So A is what? Partner, isn't it? And A is agent. So each one of them is called partner. At the same time, each one of them is called agent. So let's say that all of you here are partners in one partnership. So every student of you is a partner and everyone is an agent. So the action and activities of A will bind A, B, C, D, all of them. Any activities we do here will bind all of us. I can be a partner as an A, at the same time I'm an agent. The same thing for the C, for C or D or B. So every one of them is partner, sharik, and agent. Where is the principal? Who's the principal? So if each one of them is an agent, all of them together constitute a principal. Excellent. So this is the situation here. So where this agency comes from, this authority comes from the position. My position as a partner in a partnership gives me the authority to work as an agent. So any action I will do as an agent will bind all of us as partners, At the same time, all of us, we have joint and several liabilities. What joint? All of us here responsible, liable for any loss to the customers. A, B, C, D, partners, all of them together will be liable towards the customer, jointly together. And we have at the same time several liabilities. Each one individually will be responsible towards the customer. So the customer or the third party can sue any one of them individually, separately. If it was me as a customer, I would look at the situation here. If B was a wealthy person, if he was rich enough, I can sue him. If I see that, I would like to sue all of them, I can sue all of them together. It's up to me as a customer, as a third party. I can choose to sue all of them, or I can sue some of them. It depends on the situation. It's up to the customer here. So this is number one. Number two is that we have some people Now, we understand here, those partners have authority from their positions, from their position as partners. Number two, we find in corporations, companies, in general in companies, and mainly in corporation. And you know, corporation is the biggest size. It's a company. Corporation is a company, but it's the biggest in size. Now, in this type of corporations, we have some people can act. They can act like what? Like agents. What do you think? That everyone can act like an agent? If we have a company, and in this company we have 2,000 employees, 2,000. Do you think that every one of them can act as an agent? No? Why not? Yes? Why yes? Partnership is a different case. It's not like corporation. In partnership, we have a small number of people. They have the same responsibility, or sometimes different responsibilities. But they spend their money, and they invest the money, and they can act on behalf of each other.
Not all of the employees can have agents because the corporation have different levels. Top managers, middle, and first level.
I think no, because the corporation has management and other levels, and we have here a lot of employees, so we can't no.
Yes, only senior employees, decision-making authority. What decision-making authority? Someone in the senior level, like executive managers, executive directors. They can make decisions on behalf of that company. So the corporation is the principal, and the senior employees are agents working for that corporation. Here, if you can read it, can you read it? Where is she? Go on.
Senior employee with decision-making authority by virtue of their clear position have apparent authority to bend the corporation.
It's not bend. Bend, it has a different meaning. Bend, ينحني. ينحني. And bind.
To bind the corporation even if there is no authority.
Okay, now we have to move to the last point of this slide here. Last point. See, this is not much connected, number 3 here. It's talking about ratification, acceptance, but comes later, in a later stage, after we make the deal or transaction. Like if you have somebody as a friend, relative, someone you know, and that person has made a transaction on your behalf with no consent. And even if your agent, as an agent, has exceeded تجاوز the agency and the authority, and he or she was acting with no authority, what can we do here? Someone like it's me here. I have my car. I have one of my friends. I left my car, my business with him. I was trusting that person, and I left the country for 2 weeks. When I came back and I found that person was acting on my behalf, he or she have done some transactions and I didn't know about them. I did not give the authority for that person. Would I accept that deal? Or am I going to be liable or not? What do you think? Somebody is not my agent, does not have an authority. Now we know from the beginning, if I give my authority to somebody, that person would be my agent, and he or she will act on my behalf. Now, this someone is not acting. Like, what's your name? Huda. Huda, say that she's my sister, and I trust her, and I left some of my, not luggage, some of my commodities with Huda. When I came back from abroad, and I found out that Huda have sold some of my equipment, some of my commodities. She sold them. In this case, it's up to me. It's up to me. I can accept this transaction or I can refuse it. If I refuse the transaction, I can take my commodities back. I can take my goods back from anyone because they belong to me, not to her, not to that person. If I left my car with her and she sold it, believing that she's okay, she can sell it. Then when I came back and I found no car, I can pursue my car with anyone else. I can take it because I did not give any authority. She was acting without telling me. Well, as long as I can compensate that person, third party, I'll give him his money back, then it's fine. Unless we have some cases here, in some situations, I mean, the car is not his car. I mean, in that situation, the good with that person are mine. She was just a trusted person. I gave her something. She was not an agent. And she was not pretending to be my agent. But in this case, it's my choice. I can refuse, I can accept. And most likely, I mean, if I accept it, if I accept the transaction, this is something called ratification. You know it? Yeah. Implicitly or explicitly ratify. يصادق. When you give a consent or acceptance, this would be before you make any deal, before the agent makes any deal. But when a principal accepts the deal later on, after it was done, this is what is called ratification, مصادقة. Yani it's a later acceptance. In this case, that deal, it's going to be fine. And I will be, as a principal, responsible and liable. So as if I have given my acceptance before, as if there was an agency, the same thing. So the acceptance of the principal usually can be before transaction is made between the agent and the third party. But in some situations, the agent can act without the consent. The agent can act without the acceptance of the principal. In this situation, this deal between the agent and the third party will bind the principal only if the principal accepts this deal, if he ratifies it. And if he ratifies it, this means it's a consent, it's acceptance. So in the future, the agent can do the same deals. If I give my ratification to somebody as someone I trust, it's kind of I given him the authority to act on my behalf. And in the future, that person can keep doing the same transactions. Fine. We need to move on a little bit now, looking at liabilities. Again, as I said in this chapter, two main points. We'll look at authority and liability. We're going to look at, we have to see duties, what the principal has to do and what the agent has to do. But we have to look now at liability. Liability is something important. Liability, what does it mean, liability? Obligations, yes. Responsibility, legal obligations, legal responsibilities. Liability. We have to look at liabilities of principal and liabilities of agents. First, we'll look at liability of principal to agent. Liability of the principal to the agent. Somebody has the money, the wealth, the business, and he's got someone to act on his behalf. Now that person, the first one, the principal, would have liabilities. If I have the money and my business, and I ask Huda to work for me as my agent, in this case, I would be liable for any action she makes. My liability means responsibility towards her. If she loses money, I would have to compensate. What kind of money? What kind of money? As long as agent was acting, my agent as a principal, myself, as long as my agent was acting on my behalf within the authority, actual authority, principal will indemnify. What's indemnify? Compensate. Pay. Yeah. Will indemnify the agent for payments. Compensate or pay. Make payments. Make payments. For whom? For the agent. But the question is, what kind of payments principal would be? What kind of money? Payments were made during the course of relationship. Agent was acting, making transactions with customers. The agent paid some money for the transactions. He paid that money to complete the deal on behalf of the principal. Then in this case, the principal has to compensate, has to indemnify the agent for these payments. And sometimes those payments can be expressly authorized, expressly, clearly, explicit. Sometimes these payments can be necessary in promoting the principal's business. In such situations and other cases, and even other cases, the principal has to compensate, has to indemnify the agent, as long as the agent was acting within the authority, was not breaching the authority, was taking orders, information from the principal, and was doing his best, being honest to deliver the job as stated between him as an agent and the principal. So this is number one, liability of principal to agent. Second, liability of agent to principal. What do you think? Do we have a situation in which the agent can indemnify the principal? What do you think? Do we have any case, any situation in which the agent will pay the principal and will be liable? Go on. Why not?
Yes, maybe if the agent doesn't follow the instruction and the laws which the principal gives him, he will compensate the principal.
Yes. Yes, if the agent was acting according to the authority, it's fine. But if the agent was acting outside the authority, and he was acting without power, without authority from the principal, then the agent will be liable. Then the agent have to indemnify the principal for any loss. And we had many cases in courts. We have many situations in which agents did not follow the instructions of the principal. That person, that lady, was not following everything, was doing something outside the authority, made a transaction. Well, why should I pay as a principal for an action by my agent, and that action I did not authorize, and maybe caused me a loss? Then in this situation, the agent have to compensate the principal, have to be liable to the principal here. In this case, the agent has apparent authority, is liable to indemnify the principal for any loss or damages. Any loss or damages. Look, the third is both of them, principal and agent's liability. Principal, agent, both of them together, liability towards customer, third party. Third party. If you look at the book and the slide, you find a slight difference between them. Now here I'm trying to divide it between having two liabilities. Number one is principal's liability, and number two is agent's liability towards the third party. But in fact, third parties can sue both of them together. If you are the customer, third party, and you have some loss because an action was made by an agent, you can sue both the agent and the principal in one case. In one case. It's not optional for you, like suing. You know what sue? What does it mean, sue? Oh, come on. If this one word you don't know, just you have to tell me. يقاضي بالمحكمة. How can you pursue the case? A lawsuit. How, do you understand what I'm saying to you? Well, it seems to me that some of you do not understand what I'm saying. Isn't it? Well, you should tell me that. How do you find it? How much do you understand? 70, 80%? 50, 50? Oh, come on, you have to be honest. 70? 70. How much? 70, yes. It's more than that. Anyway, listen, once we finish today, we're going to have time for 10-15 minutes to discuss the way I explain things, and if you do understand what I'm saying or not, and if you want me to mix some terms with Arabic and translate some words. Okay? All right. Now both of them, principal and agent, are liable, مسؤولين, liable towards third party. Third party, customer, زبون أو العميل أو الطرف الثالث, he or she can sue both of them at the same time, joint liability together, or he or she can sue either the agent or the principal. It's up to the customer. In fact, you have the choice. It's up to you. You can choose to sue both or one of them. Anyway, agent is liable, principal is liable. Number one is principal liability. Principal. If we have an agent and that agent was acting on behalf of the principal, was following the whole instructions, and he's got actual or apparent authority, in this situation, the agent himself will not be liable. So long as, or as long as, the agent was acting within the framework of agency, then the agent not liable. I should not pay. Why should I pay for somebody? I was doing my job. It's the company itself, it's the principal who's got to pay for that. Then the agent will not be liable here, as long as the transaction agreed within the authority. All these transactions were done by the agent, were within the authority he had from the principal. Number 2A, the agency was revealed. It was made clear that I was an agent, I was dealing on behalf of someone else, this is not my business, and you should understand that. Then one day, if you would like to sue, you should not sue me. You should sue me who? You should sue the principal. And in that situation, the identity of the principal should be identified, revealed. The identity. Telling the customers, well, I'm only an agent. It's not my business. I'm just working on behalf of someone else. He or she would compensate you if there was any mistake. He or she would have the final liability towards you. It's not the agent. As long as we have all these points and conditions, then the principal would have the liability towards the third party. It's not an agent. It's not the agent. That's number one, principal liability. Number two, do you want to ask? Okay. Number two is agent's liability. Agent liability. Does the agent has any does the agent have any liability? Yeah, when
the principal isn't found, the agent have no authority.
Okay.
The agency is closed or part of it is closed.
When the agent will have liability towards the third party. When this situation would be? If he follow or does not follow? Doesn't follow. Doesn't follow. Okay, can you read it for me? Speak up.
The principal isn't found if the agent has no authority. The ostensible agent is liable to the third party for breach of the implied warranty authority.
Okay, if the agent was not acting within the authority, and if the action of the agent has affected third party, then the principal will not be liable. The agent should compensate. The agent should indemnify the whom? Principal. I have an example, like it's not the same like this, but we have, look in the bank, for example. I know that there was a case happened in the bank. A bank staff member was working behind the till, behind the cashier. At the end of the day, that person would count the money and should close the balance and should hand the money out to the manager in the bank, saying that today we have so and so, and we have input and output. One day, one of the members of the staff found shortage of a big amount of money. Now, who would be responsible for that? The agent here, I mean the staff member or the bank? Staff member. The staff member, I mean any loss in your till, in your counter here, any loss on your side, you have to pay for that. If you're going to be working in a bank, and I have some of my students who I taught 2-3 years ago, now some of them are working in banks in Gaza. And I've seen some of them. I have some stories in which some staff members have to compensate. They have to indemnify the bank because they made a mistake. They paid extra money to the customer, to the client, or maybe they just lost the money or did something wrong. Now, this caused a loss to the client or to the bank. Then it's your mistake as an agent. You would have to compensate. You would have to indemnify the client or the customer, or you have to indemnify the principal himself. Depends on that case. Fine? Good? Now we have to look at the record. I mean, if there was an extra money with the agent, there was an extra benefit. It doesn't have to be money always. It can be extra benefit. Now we would look, I mean, in this case here, for whom this money belong, or the benefit belong, it might be for a customer. We have to keep it. We have to save it somewhere until we find someone, because you have to expect that somebody would come to you in a few days' time, a few months' time, asking you about this benefit of that money. And you have to pay for that. So you have to keep it. I mean, even if you don't find somebody later on, it's not, I mean, you don't have a legal system done for this point. I mean, you can keep it most likely in a bank, in the bank itself. It's not yours. You're just working in a bank. You have time. We look at the duties. We finish with authority, liability. One of the points we'll look at now is duties, responsibility, duty, tasks. What's my job and what's your job? What should I do and what should you do? As a student, as a teacher, as a principal, as an agent, what should we do? We have to look at the tasks. المهمة, duties. Number one is principal duties. Principal duties. Just do not look at the slide. Leave it for a minute. Think. Use your common sense. A principal duties. What they can be. What can they be? Principal duties. A principal, what can he or she do for the agent?
provide the agent full information and full disclosure about the instruction, what should he do and follow.
Okay. Yes, that's basically, principal has to give all information, all necessary information to the agent. What to do? How much should you charge the customers? The qualities, the quantity, description of the items, everything concern the commodities and the transactions, all the information needed, all information have to be given to the agent. Like somebody is appointing Samiha to be an agent. She's working in a company. She's a trusted. She's an agent. And she came for the first week to work in that company. Can you imagine that she will not have no information what to do? What's she going to do exactly? She will have to have everything delivered to her by the principal. All information necessary to be able to sell, to buy, to act, to make transactions, deals. As I said before, like, the quantity, the quality, the price, how to deal with customers, everything have to be set in a contract of the agency. Number 2 is the money. An agent works for the money, isn't it? Principal has to be. It's something called commission or fees. If you look at this, it's not the same like in a brokerage. Some sort of بتختلف. We'll look at this next time, but we have to pay fees. I will call it most likely commission. It's like a payment, salary. It's paid for the agent. Working for somebody, it's like an employee. It's not the same, but at least you're going to get the money as if somebody working as an employee. An agent, you get commission. This can be monthly payment, weekly payment. It can be sometimes per item. It can be a percentage. You know what that? It can be a percentage, like how many computers it can sell. I can take like 5%. We have one of the most difficult cases in how can we end or terminate the agency is that one. You appoint somebody and I would give that person a percentage. Then I would say to him later on, well, I don't want you to work for me anymore. How am I going to pay that person? Anyway, we'll look at that on time. But anyway, the commission or fees have to be paid. Problem is that we don't have many slides here. I mean, next time we have to take half of the lecture next time for agency and the other half to be for the contract. Or maybe we can have something new. We'll look what we're going to do next time. Anyway, we look at the agency duties. Or do you want me to leave it for next time? Leave it for next time?
Yes.
What do you think? We still have time. Okay, we're gonna stop here. We can have discussion now. Listen, look at me. We will stop here. We're gonna take discussions for 8-7 minutes. Discussion about the subject evaluation, and next time when we come, we have to complete. We have to complete by looking at agency duties. Okay. Thanks for your time.